I'm going to be sharing something with you that I have had a really hard time sharing on all my social media platforms. Hello you beautiful soul, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing something with you that I have had a really hard time sharing on all my social media platforms, and that is my experience with substance abuse for 8+ years, specifically cannabis addiction and dependency. This is an easier topic for me to talk about now because I've been sharing this all over my Instagram and TikTok for the past couple of months, and I've received such an overwhelming amount of love and support. And I just also realized that so many people also struggle with this too. I love doing sit down videos and being able to connect with you on here. So on today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you my experience, how it really all started, how it's helped me. I think as of today that I'm filming this video, I am 187 days sober from the last time that I consumed cannabis, which is a huge milestone. Oh yeah. Because if you know anything about me, 8+ years of battling with it, quitting and then relapsing, quitting and then relapsing, 187 days is massive. So I'm so excited. If you're wanting to hear more about this, then definitely continue watching. Let's get into the video. So I want to preface this by saying that I'm not against cannabis and I don't label cannabis as bad. So many people who are very pro cannabis will watch my TikTok videos and automatically say you're villainizing it, you're blaming it. I want to preface this video by saying I'm not blaming cannabis for any of my own struggles and dependency and addiction. I don't believe that cannabis itself is addicting, but I do believe that depending on how we use it, we can get addicted to that feeling. And at the end of the day, everything can be addicting. People are addicted to alcohol, sex, gambling, shopping, coffee, all the things. And so my experience with cannabis really started when I was 15, I think I was in grade 9, grade 10. I struggled a lot in my home life. I grew up with very strict Chinese, Vietnamese parents. There was so much pressure for me to succeed and perform and get really good grades. And not only that, I grew up as a Chinese girl in a predominantly white community. I was bullied a lot for my weight, my size, what I looked like. My best friend at that time actually had turned against me the moment that we went into this high school. And I actually shared a lot about this in my weight loss videos about the bullying and stuff. My first encounter with cannabis was because I wanted to fit in. I actually just did a talk yesterday on substance abuse and sharing my story with youths ages 12 to 17. And it's something that I'm really passionate about because I have a lot of friends now in my adulthood who use cannabis for a variety of reasons. Like they need it medically to help with pain and certain things. And I think it's such an amazing plant that can help with so many things. But I feel like when you're using it at such a young age, when you're not fully developed yet and you're still growing and learning things about yourself, it can do more damage than good. I was trying to fit in, and I very vividly remember I was in the smoking section because I just felt like people in the smoking section were a lot nicer. I don't know why. And so I felt like I was just able to connect with people a little bit more. And there was this one girl who I loved dearly, and I felt like she was the first and only person at that school that really care about me. And so we just connected. That was when I had my first cigarette. And the more that I started hanging out with her, the more that I started kind of doing the things that she did, right? And a lot of kids, we do that. We do the things that our friends do. There was a study done and they said that 29% of teens or youth said that they started consuming cannabis because their friends did. So oftentimes we're doing it because we want to fit in, we want to just try it, or we end up using it to numb certain pains and emotions and escape reality. And so for me, it was because this friend of mine actually smoked it. And I very vividly remember being at her house and she introduced me to using a bong for the first time. I remember the term greening out, and I was just like laying on the couch like, oh my God. It was like the most horrible experience. And the more that I hung out with her, the more that I just got accustomed to it. I enjoyed this feeling of being high because I didn't like how I was feeling in my body when I wasn't high. So for example, I was struggling a lot with depression and anxiety, but in my culture, in my family, we don't talk about mental health and mental illness. It's not really a big topic. And so I feel like I was just struggling silently, and I was getting bullied, and it was just a mix of emotions. And so I smoked a lot to escape my reality. It was so painful, and I smoked to numb the anger and the hurt and the sadness that I was experiencing. As I started getting older, end of high school, going into university, I started smoking more and more. And then it kind of became a part of my identity. Like, I was almost proud to call myself the stoner. Back then, it was like the cool thing. That was a part of my identity. And then next thing you know, I'm in university and I'm still smoking all day, every day. I meet a couple of boyfriends and they all smoked. So it was like I was constantly surrounded by it. Also because I put myself in those situations too. But here's the thing about me. I was a functioning stoner, like high functioning stoner. And that's another thing that I feel like a lot of people talk about is there's this stigma that all people who smoke pot and cannabis and weed are lazy and unmotivated, unproductive. That is true. And it's also true that you can be very motivated, productive, high achieving, high performing while smoking cannabis. And that was me. Because I was so high functioning, no one ever knew that I was high. I was high from the moment I woke up till the moment I went to bed. It was all I could think about. I kid you not when I say I would smoke before I went to my exams. I would smoke before I went and taught dance classes or personal trained. I would smoke before I went to my serving job. I would smoke before I went to the clubs and the bars because I was not someone who drank, so I just smoked. I was literally permanently high all day, every day. Before I left the house, I had to smoke. When I came home, I had to smoke. Always on my mind. And I tried relapsing many times. My parents were not super fond of it, and they actually tried throwing my stuff out many times. Like, there's been so many blown out screaming matches with my parents in regards to cannabis, and they've thrown out my bongs, they've thrown out my flour, they've thrown out all the things, and then I would just go and replenish them and get them back. I never knew that I actually had a problem. I didn't think I had a problem because people always say you can't be addicted to cannabis. Like, cannabis is not addicting. I didn't think that I had a problem. And I think that's the problem, is that most people who are abusing substances don't actually realize that they are abusing substances. It probably wasn't until I want to say 2019, and I was traveling in Miami. Mind you, this whole time, like, I'm high functioning. I was taking extra course loads in university while working 6 jobs. I had started a business. I was still managing a toxic relationship, and I ended up moving to Los Angeles from Canada in 2018, all while still struggling with substance abuse. And so I'm one of those people that can say, like, you can be addicted and depend on it and have it take over your life and also have your life together. It's really interesting. And so I was in Miami in 2019, and I didn't realize that it's not legal there, and you can't just go to a dispensary and be like, hey, can I go get some cannabis? I need to get high. So I think my vape pen at this time actually died. My vape died. Ooh. The person that I was friends with, hers died as well. And so I didn't have access to it. Mind you, my friend can smoke or drink, it doesn't matter. So she was completely fine. But for me, I was like, oh my God. In my mind, I was not present in any conversation. I was not able to enjoy my time there because I was constantly thinking about, I need to get high. How am I gonna go to sleep tonight? Like, I need this. I was getting so much anxiety from wondering where I was gonna get it. I was like Googling and all the things, and here I am like trying to like inhale like the last bit of vape from the cartridge, or like weed from the cartridge. And that was probably the first time that it kind of like started dawning on me, like, Evelyn, you have a problem. Like, you are this entrepreneur who's supposed to have her life together, and yet you can't even enjoy your time on this trip because all you can think about is getting high, and all you can think about is where you're going to find cannabis. Fast forward, after that incident, it was like, okay, went back to California, was able to have easy access. When you're making your own money and you have such easy access to dispensaries and things, you just go and get it, you replenish it, you buy it. And then I started realizing, like, man, I'm spending a lot of money on cartridges, because I was kind of going back and forth between like smoking flower out of a bong versus cartridges. And I think things got a lot worse when I started using cartridges. It was so easily accessible that I was smoking all the time. Before, it's like, okay, you get up, you go to like where you put your bong and your flower, and then you have to like crush it up and you have to like smoke it. And then now I like have this little vape beside me everywhere, and I can bring it everywhere. I can do this anywhere. So easily accessible. That was when my already high tolerance got even higher. Looking back in hindsight, like, I'm not proud of who I was. I'm this bubbly, excited, happy girl, and I feel like I was struggling so much internally, like so many unresolved childhood wounds and trauma that I wasn't ready to dive into yet. And so I would just numb myself and my emotions, kind of like what I did in high school, by smoking. I found myself actually not really enjoying being around people that much because I needed to be high all the time. But then when I was around people, I wasn't wanting to communicate as much. Like, I'm a very like talkative, like I love getting to know people, but when I was in this like almost sedative state from smoking, I was not as talkative. I was tired all the time. I didn't really want to like be around people, which it was honestly, looking back, is major warning signs. Long story short, 2020 hit, and that was when my tolerance that was already high and then got higher is now like through the roof. I would go into dispensaries being like, give me your strongest strain, give me your strongest cartridge. Looking back, I was just permanently high all day, every day. It's all I could think about. And if I'm being completely honest with you, over 80 to 90% of my mental bandwidth was just thinking about smoking. It was just thinking about getting high. I feel like I cried for help so many times with my coaches and my mentors, and it wasn't until I worked with my last coach where I actually decided to take a 30-day hiatus just to heal my relationship with cannabis. In my mind, I was like, the version of Evelyn that's super successful, speaking on stages, that's building a really successful business, like, she's not getting high all day, every day. Imagine if I took all that 80% of thinking about getting high and put that into my business or put that into achieving my goals. Imagine what my life and my business would look like. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm ready, I'm willing, and I have a really strong why to taking a break. I never told myself I was gonna quit or stop, because whenever I did that, like, Evelyn, you're gonna quit, I'm gonna stop, I almost feel like your brain rebels, and that's when I relapsed a lot. And so this time I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna take a 30-day hiatus just to heal my relationship with it and see how it goes from there. 30 days, probably 2 weeks in, I already started feeling better, and I was like, I don't actually enjoy being high. Oh! Next thing you know, now we're like 187 days sober. Yay! And I never say that I'm never gonna smoke again, because I never say never, but in the near future, I don't see myself consuming cannabis because it does not make me feel good, because I abused it. And so going back to what I said at the very beginning, I don't blame cannabis for all of this. I don't blame the plant. What I do blame, if we're gonna put a blame on anything, is my unresolved childhood wounds and trauma that I never dealt with and didn't know how to deal with. And so in the last couple of years, I've been doing a lot of, when I say couple of years, I want to say more deeper in the last 2 years, started diving into inner child work. I've been doing this with my clients, started healing a lot from the inside out. And I started recognizing why I was actually smoking to begin with, why I started smoking. Here we are now, and I am the happiest, the lightest, the freest. I feel so much more energetic, more motivation, more productivity than I have in a really, really, really long time. My withdrawal symptoms were not the greatest, but we can save that for another video. At the time that I was struggling, I never saw anybody else talk about this, and so I kind of felt a little alone. But ever since I started sharing this story on my TikTok, on my Instagram, I realized just how many people struggle. Like, I'll share some of the screenshots here below, but hundreds of people have said, thank you for sharing this. Like, because of you, I finally have been able to stop after 13 years of smoking every single day. And again, I'm not painting cannabis to be this bad thing. It's an and conversation. You can have a great relationship with it, and there are also people who have abused it and depend on it and want to heal their relationship with it and not really have it in their life anymore. And both people get to exist. So I'm creating this video to bring awareness and to give a different perspective to all this, and to support those who are on this side of the spectrum who are struggling right now and don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, who think that they're always going to continue struggling, don't think that they have the ability to do it. I mean, I struggled with this for 8+ years, and I can do it, so can you. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you resonated with this, if you enjoyed this, if you want more videos like this, if you have any questions for me in regards to any of this, then please let me know down in the comments. But don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and I'd love to connect with you further on my Instagram and my TikTok. The last thing I want to leave you with is you are enough. You are not your wounds. You are not your trauma. You are not your abuse. You are not your addiction. You are you, and you as you is enough. I love you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I cannot wait to connect with you next week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.